Good morning, and welcome to How to Upgrade Your Core Personal Operating System. So, like me, you are all students on this journey we call life. And change and creativity is going to be constant. There's things that have happened, there's things that are happening, there's things that are going to happen. And the only thing that you can make a difference with, in a sense, is your core operating system. You're either going to be coming from a place of a fear of change or a love of creativity. Now, imagine what your life would be like and the lives of the people around you, your world, if you operated from a place of a love of creativity. Now, there's nothing wrong with your core personal operating system. Just an absence of understanding. But if you judge your core personal operating system, if you judge yourself, there can be no understanding. So if you understand your core operating system and you go to upgrade it, then you can shift from a fear of change to a love of creativity. And then again, what would your world be like? What difference could you make to yourself and those around you coming from a love of creativity? Now, you're all experts with operating systems. You've got incredible devices in your hands and in your pockets. You got iPhones, we've got Galaxy phones, Android phones, Blackberry phones, Windows phones, and yours is the best. And you're all extremely knowledgeable about the operating systems that are running in those phones. iPhone users, what's your current operating system? 9.03. Come on. Galaxy users, what's the current operating system? Well, it went from Lollipop. Come on, it went from Lollipop to Marshmallow 6.0. Blackberry users, what's the operating system? I got to tell you, Blackberry users, all you iPhone users and Android users, Blackberry is 10.03. Like they're way ahead of you. I mean, Apple, all you smarty pants Apple folks in the audience, you're falling way behind. Now, it takes no time at all to be able to upgrade your smartphone operating system, isn't that right? No time at all. You just push a button, it's done. You're completely upgraded. But what happens to your smartphone when you don't upgrade? Yeah, it closes down, right? It freezes. It gets stuck. Now, think about if you had the best core personal operating system and you knew how to constantly upgrade it. Again, what would your life be like? What difference could you make to your own life, the lives around you? Perhaps you'd increase your education. Maybe you'd start a business. Perhaps you'd improve your health. Maybe you've got a TED Talk inside of you just waiting to be delivered. Now again, you understand it. You understand there's nothing wrong with it. Now, the question, if you could upgrade from a fear of change to a love of creativity, would you do it? Yes. Yes. Just checking. You would. You would. Now, let me ask you this. When's the last time you upgraded your core personal operating system? Yesterday. Congratulations, notice who this lady is, yesterday. Now, you'd agree with me, whether it is your smartphone device or it is your core personal operating system, it's important to upgrade, but it would stand to reason if we don't upgrade our core personal operating system, there's a possibility of getting stuck, frozen. Make sense? Now, what do we do? What do we do to upgrade our core personal operating systems? What do we do? Read? Thank you. That's one way. But we take a time out. We do a reset. We do a reboot to be able to upgrade our core personal operating system so that we can come from a place of love, of creativity, to be able to go forward, to be able to make an extraordinary difference for ourselves and the lives that are around us. Now, what's the problems with smartphones? There's too many apps. There's too much information. There's too many systems that are going on. And they start to slow down. So we're kind of just like the same thing. So you'd agree with me that whether it's yourself or your smartphone, it's important to be able to upgrade, because with all of this talk about the information age, when we shift and upgrade, we can go for going from the information age to the inspiration age. Make sense? Now, you might be wondering, okay, what's this core personal operating system you're talking about? So the core personal operating system comes from your heart, the seat of your soul, if you will, your being. It's based upon your values, which drive positive beliefs and positive feelings. My values are sense, teaching, wisdom. That inspires feelings of confidence, certainty, and conviction, and the belief system that I am infinite. Now, some of you might be going, oh, come on, that's just a bunch of touchy-feely crap. Now, I want to ask you, who's doing the thinking? Is it the soul? Is it the being that's doing the thinking? Or is it the gal or the guy in the back seat? Now, this guy in the gal in the back seat analogy came from an interview that Time magazine did with Bob Dylan. And Bob Dylan was asked, how do you handle fortune and fame? And Dylan said, don't let the guy in the back seat do the driving. And the guy in the back seat doing the driving is the amygdala, the limbic brain, or the ego. You are light and love and happiness and peace and joy interconnected with your soul or your being, however you want to frame it. But the amygdala is in the back seat in competition. And it is addicted to unmet needs of approval, safety, emotion of anxiety and fear, and negative beliefs that you are worthless and you are absolutely unlovable. Now, November the 6th, I got an email. Nobody's ever called me dearest before in an email, but it said, Dearest TEDxChilliwack talk speaker, you have been accepted as a Chilliwack TEDx talk speaker. You know, and my operating system based on values and feelings and belief systems, it was like coming from a place of love, and I was like feeling excited, but then the guy in the back seat was tapping me on the shoulder and saying, you can't go back there. You can't go back there. You're junk. You're junk. Your formative years were spent in a junkyard on the 46,000 block of Yale Road West, right across from Chilliwack Ford. Your parents owned a junkyard. In fact, you lived in the junkyard. The conditions were absolutely abominable. But what was worse was my father's rage and anger, especially around tax time. He hated the government. And worse than that was my mother's anxiety and fear that just didn't stop. It went on for days and days and days. And I was an only child, and I was basically caught in the middle of it. Now, it wasn't about being in a junkyard. It wasn't about them. It was about me, or rather, that I made a mistaken perception and started listening to my amygdala, my limbic brain, my ego, that I was worthless, that I was driven by unmet needs of anxiety and fear and emotions. I already said that, driven by unmet needs of approval and safety and emotions of anxiety and fear, and the belief that I was worthless. Now, I carried that into my adult life, that I was worthless. And it had a major effect in relationships, money, business. In fact, God, I was even pissed off with God because, it was God's fault. It had nothing to do with me. In 1980, I started taking personal development, professional development courses. And after a time, I realized that what I needed to deal with went way beyond positive thinking. I needed to take a look deeper. And in 1992, I was in what they call an attitudinal healing workshop. And the facilitator said, "You tried to kill yourself." I said, "No, you don't understand." And I was telling a story about a 69 Camaro that I was driving back from Cultus Lake about 3 o'clock in the morning in 1977. And I just rebuilt the running gear in the car. And just at the time that they 4-laned the road from Vetter to Sardis, they hadn't even put the white lines on the road yet. I said, I'm going to put my foot into this thing and I'm going to see what it can do. And at 130 miles an hour, I started to slow down because there's a long corner as you're heading toward, just after Stevenson Road, I believe it's called. Started slowing down. At 110 miles an hour, I pulled the car into second gear to be able to slow it down even further. Compression, right? It's slowing down, and for some unknown reason, I put the car into first gear, and it spun around backwards at 85 miles an hour, and I was praying, God, Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, if you get me out of this one, I promise I will turn my life around. The car skidded for 150 yards and broadsided the curb, jumped up in the air and busted a telephone pole off 5 feet off the ground. The car spun around in the middle of the intersection. The car was totaled. I didn't have a mark on me. The facilitator said, "You tried to kill yourself." I said, "No, you don't understand. It was the person that rebuilt the automatic transmission. The thing would go into first gear at any speed. You tried to kill yourself." "No, it was the other person's fault. You tried to kill yourself." And then it dawned on me, yeah, I did it. I did it. From my past, I had allowed my amygdala to carry the false, unmet needs of approval and safety, and the emotions of anxiety and fear and the belief that I was worthless. And it had an effect on everything that was going on in my life. And so there's step one of how to upgrade your core personal operating system. You got to be honest. Yeah, I got these needs of safety and approval. Yeah, there's anxiety and fear that's connected to them. And yeah, I'm making up beliefs that I'm worthless and I'm lovable. Step two is to forgive myself, in this case. Forgive myself for having needs of approval and safety. Forgive myself for having emotions of anxiety and fear. And forgive myself for making a mistaken perception that I am worthless and unlovable. And step three is forgive me for forgetting that I've got values of vision and sense and teaching that generate emotions and feelings of confidence, certainty, and conviction, and the belief system that I'm infinite. Now, how do I know it works? Well, you could join with me right now and take a breath. Take a deep breath. Exhale. Do it again. On the next time you do it, as you breathe in, you're going to affirm that love and light and happiness and peace and joy radiate through every cell in your being. Okay, try it and say it to yourself. Love and light and happiness and peace and joy radiate through every cell in my being. And know this, that you've got 17 thought-leading TED Talk speakers that are sharing their infinite, incredible ideas with you today. And I believe that they can help you to make an incredible difference to your lives and the lives of the folks around you, your world. Every one of you has a purpose, a skill, a message, something that is unlived and hasn't been delivered yet. And if you operate coming from values and feelings and belief systems, you can do it. Psst, can you hear that? Psst. Did you hear that? What was that? That was the guy in the back seat going, "Oh, there's no way, you couldn't possibly get up here and do what Simon or any of these TED Talk speakers are doing. I mean, we're not approved." We're going to step one, okay? We're not approved, we're not safe, we're not worthy, right? Step two, forgive yourself for the needs of approval and safety. and the false emotions of anxiety and fear and the mistaken belief that you're worthless and unlovable, and forgive yourself for forgetting that light and love and radiance flows through every cell in your being. You are infinite. You can do anything that you set your heart to be able to make a difference to the people that are in your lives, the people that you serve. May what you've learned today, may you bring it forward. May it make a difference for every single one of you. I want to thank the TEDxChilliwack team, Ray, Rachel, Mike, for all their extraordinary efforts. I want to thank good friends that have supported me over the years: Chris Barrow, Dietrich Wolfsack, Pat Finucane. I want to thank my lovely wife, Laura. And I want to thank my parents who had the courage to come and settle from England in Chilliwack, the green heart of the province of British Columbia. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.